I've been here long enough that I get two of these. One says selectman,
Oh, yeah.
select man,
Yeah.
and the other one says select board. That's when you know it's time to go. When your pronouns are changing just like that. Action right now, Tom.
Huh?
What's the action room?
It's maintenance night.
Oh, okay. That's good to get the night off from that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although I don't know if it's the night off. Maybe it looks like we'll get out of this pretty easy.
It's not, but I'm trying.
Oh yeah.
And they had the
Yeah,
they had
Yeah.
the crew out here and the crew down
Oh, yeah.
there. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Let me tell you how that my schedule that morning.
You look better than the last time I saw you.
Yeah, I feel way better.
Yeah.
Every day.
I'm like I went to work all day. How the
Oh, it was good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Did you jump through it?
No, I tried.
There
I
wasn't a big enough crowd.
Well, and the thing is that I actually took it. I don't know if it's ever left the county, but I took it to southern Maine.
Oh,
So this might be the first time it left the county.
no, because it's
It's older than you.
frame. It's not four solos. The zero is big enough if you're there. And so you grab accelerate so rapid, and you like fire. And then you convince them to jump through the zero.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was built out of.
Oh, it was just a joke. Yeah.
It's like it's not well.
It's really poorly.
It's really
Some of the
poorly
worst
built.
welding you've ever seen.
And I think it's
Yeah, seriously.
maybe been repaired once or twice, but not that
I
much.
think the feet are new.
Yeah. Yeah.
But of course, they're like, it's like galvanized pipe now, so somebody did a bad thing, welded it,
Yeah.
whatever.
It's 10 feet, but it's
Yeah,
You know you're getting old when you're like, this is all Pat. I know how to do this.
Welcome back. If, you know, if we had had it last night, I might not have been here, but I'm better now. I lost like 2 days last week. Kids bring home. Still past. Yeah.
This is Pat Hudson gave us. Okay. Now she has some notes in there. I have some notes. I actually have some sticky tabs that will help you get to quick places quickly. But this is gold when you get to this. I got tabs all over the place for different issues over the years. I've highlighted certain things. There's a few notes in there from Pat Hudson. All right. No, I know you would. You might not, but this is
Kevin. Okay. I'd just like to congratulate you on the proper placement of the crosswalk at the Congregational Church. I noticed that. I was like, finally. We came through there right after they paid. Yeah. She brought it up. Karen brought it up, and she's like, "You gotta make sure that this happens." So I put 2 calls out to make sure that it happens. And I was like, yes. Well, congratulations, man. Job well done.
All right. It is 7:04, so we will call the May 28th, 2024 Select Board meeting to order. Do we have any amendments to the agenda tonight? Nope. Okay. Minutes of the meeting of May 13th.
I'll move it.
Move to approve them. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Rufus. Does anyone have any? I wasn't here for this, so I can't help out. Anyone have any corrections, additions? Nope. Then all in favor? Passes 4 yes, and I'll abstain since I wasn't there. I know I don't have to, but
It's fine.
let's see. Do we have any public comments tonight on items not on the agenda? Nope. All right, then we will move on to new business A, the Harriet Gertrude Bird. I didn't know there was a middle name to it. Clubhouse and Playground Committee bylaws.
So I was unclear that there was a Gertrude as well.
That's good.
But the committee that has been reformed
Mhm.
Was adamant that that become part of the title. And so the Harriet G. Gertrude Bird Clubhouse and Playground Committee met about a month ago now and developed sort of these bylaws that are in front of you. And what I've learned too is that that committee was established as a requirement of the town taking over the property, that there would be a committee that oversaw sort of ownership of that facility. So what we did is we drafted these bylaws. Again, all authority lies with the select board, not the committee. The committee makes recommendations. I know that with the members that are there, they discussed expanding the number of people that are involved so they can start to see some mix of people interested in partaking in this committee with staggered terms. So I think what we did in January was appoint the 5 members through the rest of this year, and we would reestablish staggered term as part of next in June, as well as potentially additional committee members. So that's sort of the groundwork we laid at our meeting. There are other things we're looking to address. I'd rather the staff be responsible for reservations of the use of the space. Coming to the board and the community with budget proposals for modifications to either the facility or capital projects that they'd like to see happen. So, taking a little bit more of a responsibility within the staff and have the board or the committee there to serve more in the visioning and help in thinking about what's next to come. So I do other things that came up where anybody who rents it doesn't even have any kind of an agreement they have to sign about maintenance of the, taking care of the facility while you're using it. The expectation is that you clean it up after yourself. What we found is that doesn't always happen. So you've ended up having committee volunteers out there cleaning the facility. So we're looking at doing things like keypad lock. So we don't have to figure out who has a key and who can be there to unlock it or open it up. We also want to institute a deposit process for people who do rent it. They'll get their deposit back if they keep it clean. If not, that'll go to help cover the cost of cleaning. So those are like the next step things that we will bring as part of this process. But I first wanted to get your support for these draft bylaws. And I brought a copy here if you're comfortable with what's written. We can sign it tonight.
There's one question on it.
Sure.
So that's the section 1 composition in Article 2 membership. Committee shall consist of no less than 5 members, not to exceed 7, appointed by the Newcastle Select Board. The only reason I bring this up is that sometimes it's hard to fill seats. So I don't know if we want to say no less than 5. If we can't, there are 4 people or 3 people, and that's what we've got. It'd be nice to not be in conflict with the bylaws.
Okay.
So it could say 5 to 7 members, maybe not no less than.
Okay.
Shall consist of 5 to 7 members. Just a thought.
Does that change?
I mean, then you have to change the quorum numbers, but
Well, you still have the quorum numbers.
yeah,
I mean,
does it make sense to make it like 3 to 7? Or is that too wild?
I mean, I think if you, as long as, I think the only thing that we're missing, I don't think we need to say shall, it's just that shall consist.
Yeah.
It's that whole thing, so that if they're,
You're right.
they ideally, or no, just say the committee,
Just drop no
composition, the committee
Yeah, I
composition,
think-
of 5 to 7 members. Shall consist of 5 to 7
It's
members.
kind of like our finance committee, that's operated
But
with 2
it's-
members.
But
for a
it's
while.
no less than.
No, yeah, I'm just saying, like, sometimes you just run with a skeleton crew and
So, yeah,
business gets conducted and then.
so I think if you just say consist of 5 to 7 members. But you just take of no, you just take no less than.
Yep.
Out. I think
But
that's
both
okay.
ways, it's required there to be 5 people minimum.
No, it's just saying. This is more directive. The committee shall consist, so you're looking for 5 to 7 members, but if you only have 3, you don't have the shall in there telling you have to.
Oh, so you're saying if it's just.
I'm just
there,
saying, take shall out.
So
that-
if you have
Yeah.
3, you still need all 3 to have quorum,
Yeah,
is what it would mean.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
So that does make sense.
Okay,
and then you've got,
you can still.
Then you-
You're hopefully still searching for additional.
Right, yeah,
Constantly.
two.
Going through the community to say who is interested in serving.
but it could
Yeah.
you could easily run into a situation where you don't have that, or you don't have all 5 members. You only have 5 members and not all 5 members are present, but there are 3 and 3 is quorum, then that's great. It's like our board.
Some amendments to the bylaws. Would you like to approve this with that amendment? Or would you like me to bring you a new copy?
Did anyone do anything else in it that was,
I think we can approve it with that amendment.
Just make a
Yeah.
motion and
all right, so let's see. Then, do I have a motion to approve the drafted bylaws of the Harriet Gertrude Bird Clubhouse and Playground Committee as amended? Moved by Joel, seconded by Tom. All in favor? So 5.
so
Okay,
we'll sign that when we get it. Stop by or.
Oh, I'll just have you sign it because I don't, that change isn't gonna affect the page numbers.
Okay.
So
You can even.
Oh, there we
cross it
go.
out.
I did.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay.
As long
Perfect.
as it's in.
Yeah.
All right, then the next new business is did anyone have any questions on? Comments? Okay. Next new business is the fish ladder project to remove knotweed. Come
Is-
on down, Bob. Oh. Jeff, did we have a microphone? Can you hear him?
It's got those-
Oh, good, okay.
Evening all. So, I sent in a copy of the variance request that I sent to Augusta for treating the knotweed along the fish ladder. Does anyone need a copy of that, or has that, you had a chance
Sit
to
down.
look at that?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, great.
They've all had it since Friday.
Invasive plant management is a business I've been established over the last few years. And the process I'm using is basically to minimize the use of chemicals as much as possible. So there's little or no spraying done by my company. It's a very tedious, long process for doing it. That is all cut stump treatment. So you're cutting plant and dabbing a little bit of chemical on the stump. And that will be effectively used to remove or kill most of the roots of that plant. Now, the Japanese knotweed that's growing along the fish ladder and in a lot of other spots throughout the county is one of the tougher invasive plants we've got here in Maine to manage. The downsides of it, aside from just whether you like the look of it or not, some people do. The bees love the flowers in the fall when there's fewer pollen sources available. But it is incredibly insidious and very difficult to get rid of. Also, the root structures have been known to actually compromise stone foundations. So having it growing alongside the fish ladder after spending 15 years and $1 million+ on it seems like a no-brainer. Needs to be addressed in some manner. The issues around it, of course, is the proximity to running water and use of any kind of herbicide in that proximity. And that's the reason for the variance that was submitted to the Board of Pesticide Control in Augusta. I am a licensed and insured commercial master applicator for herbicides of this type. And what I'm really looking for is permission from the landowners to actually go and do this work as required by law. You can do whatever you want on your own property, pretty much with chemicals, but on someone else's commercial application, it needs to be done with permission. Absolutely. So, in addition to the variance approval from Augusta, I also got the okay from Maine's DEP, from town of Noblesboro, and all of the neighbors that actually, I won't say front on the fish ladder, but back onto the fish ladder. And I'm looking for approval on that from town of Newcastle tonight. So I don't have to worry so much about exactly where property boundaries stop and start in that area. It's a little bit shaky, but with your okay, and I've already talked to the folks at Kruger Energy. They're waiting just as long as Newcastle has no problem with it, they're okay with us doing that work as well. It's a long process, twice a year to cut and to do this dabbing treatment on the stumps, pretty much in late June and early September. Works out best per the cooperative extension's advice and guidance that they give for managing this invasive. And it will take 3 to 5 years easily before it's really completely controlled.
Jeez, that's terrible.
One of the discouraging parts is that in year 2, it looks like you did almost nothing in year 1, but it actually does come back in a smaller form. It stops spreading its roots. The roots stop growing out. They're more aggressive about defending what they've already got, it seems. And with enough patience and time, it will be reduced and eventually be eradicated completely. That may take complete eradication, may take more than 5 years, but having it controlled so it's no longer threatening the fish ladder, and so no longer spreading, 3 to 5 years is likely.
One question. So
the timing of the application, it wouldn't happen until after the run for the fish?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was it's just you have this concentration of fish that
Oh,
are
yeah.
trying to spawn and Roundup does affect fish and birds.
It can, we'll be using a specific formulation of Roundup that doesn't have anything extra added to it than those additional surface acting agents that they put in the regular Roundup grass and weed killer. Actually, is worse for the fish than the active ingredient that actually, the glyphosate that's in there. There'll be some runbacks probably in June, late June when we start doing the process, but the chemical composition of glyphosate, and that's essentially all we'll be using, there'll be nothing else added to it other than water. Without getting into a high school chemistry and organic chemistry whiteboard discussion, it binds to soil. So if you if a drop falls off of or gets dabbed and a little bit drips down onto the soil next to the stalk of the knotweed, it binds to that soil. It won't go anywhere unless there's erosion carrying the soil off into the water system. So it's really a very safe way to go. This could be a great demonstration of this. If you just take your Roundup weed killer and spray poison ivy that's alongside a dusty road in the summertime, a dirt road in the summer, after a week, you'll be surprised that nothing's happened to poison ivy potentially. It's because that layer of dust on the leaves is actually what the glyphosate, the Roundup comes in contact with. It binds to that, becomes inert, and doesn't actually get to the point of actually damaging the poison ivy leaves at all. There's a couple of other sites that I'm working on for over 2 years now with on coastal rivers preserves, managing knotweed there as well. One spot over on the Round Top campus, where you know this one, over by the barn, it's a big lilac stand with knotweed growing up right through it.
Yeah.
This will be next month will be the 3rd year that we start treating the knotweed there. There's been no dieback of the lilac at all. And it's growing right in between the roots, right in between the stalks of this old French lilac stand. So I'm pretty comfortable with my, not just the industry statements about the chemicals, and what I've read from cooperative extensions and research, but also just the empirical hands-on evidence shows that it really does act the way I expect it to.
So do you do the application yourself or do you hire people to do it or?
Currently, I'm a staff of 1 in my company. So, thank you. So currently, yeah, this will be a all manual process. I may have a couple volunteers join me on this particular project.
You'll be directly involved in overseeing.
I'll be on site for every step of it. Yeah. Yeah, that's all.
No, I think, like I said, as long as it's not happening during the concentration of the fish moving. Up, 'cause
Absolutely
there is
not, no.
rules for-
It's not the right timing for treating knotweed,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't do it then
Yeah.
anyhow.
Yeah.
Just
Anybody else? Great. I'm glad you're doing that.
Thank you, Karen. Yeah. Oh, the other thing I'll note is that as the chair of the Fish Ladder Restoration Committee, that's another role that I have. I didn't think it'd be appropriate to be raising funds to pay to my own company, so this is all pro bono work. There'll be no charge other than a few dollars, under $100 for the supplies and the one shoreline zoning permit that I acquired that Noble asked me to get.
That's nice of you.
So
And in your other hat, the fish harvest has been really good, hasn't it?
last week the fish harvest was fantastic. Yeah, we did great numbers. They slowed down, I'd say yesterday, maybe a little bit Monday. Yesterday was Monday, a little bit Sunday, I'd say. But last week, absolutely, the run was phenomenal.
Good.
And all the lobstermen and everyone in the neighborhood is hoping that with the warmer weather after the rain, now we'll see the run numbers pick right back up. This afternoon and this morning was pretty light.
Maybe they all went this week.
You have to ask them. I
Uh,
don't answer for all once.
No. All right, then do I have a motion to authorize Damascotta Mills Consulting Inc. to administer treatment as prescribed in the application for variance permit on and around town owned property?
So
Moved by Tor, seconded by Tom, all in favor? 5-0. All right,
Thank you all.
thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you so much.
And if there's any doubts, concerns, or anything else comes up, please, you know how to get hold.
Yep, absolutely.
Good evening.
Good
Thank
meeting.
you. Thank you, Rob. All right, unfinished business, update on Lynch Road minor span.
Okay. So I've invited our liaison, Marisol Rodriguez. She's here. Marisol, say hi.
Hi,
You might
Marisol, we
Come
love you.
Sit up front. Come sit up front. with me. I'll sit with her.
Okay,
Just for this. Pick one, I'll pick the other. Cheers. So I'll tell you, I want to start by saying, I don't think I could have gotten as far as I have without her assistance. Marisol, you're a PDMG. It's a project, I'm gonna screw this up, ready? Program Delivery Manager for Grants.
Okay.
There's a lot of acronyms in FEMA, which, you know, FEMA starts with an acronym. Right now, all of our projects, everything we submitted has been approved. The only, and obligated, it's all been sent to the state. So we're waiting for a check for 90% of the cost for the debris cleanup, the emergency management, a lot of the smaller improvements or capital needs that were tied to like parts of roads being washed out, and those repairs have all been covered. So we're just waiting for a check from the state for most of those. The big one that's left that Marisol and I have been trying to tackle for the last 4 months is the Lynch Road minor span. We've all learned about culverts versus minor spans versus bridges. So our minor span is in the process. It's been approved as a large, no, not approved. Oh, so she's here to correct
It
me.
is approved as a large project.
That's right. And it has mitigation dollars attached to it.
Yes.
So the only last piece to that before it goes to headquarters is to get the Environmental and Historic Preservation Division to approve it.
Release it, yeah.
So EHP.
Because you have ground disturbance that's gonna be there, so, and then you have, you know, salmon that goes through there, so there's a lot of other federal agencies that have to review that.
So that's what we're waiting on. Once that's done, it will go to LP because it's over $1 million.
It's over $1 million, so it goes to LPN, which is a large project notification in Washington.
Once they get the sign off, they tell Congress that they're doing it. They can,
Then it comes
Obligate the
back down to
funding.
me and then it gets obligated. Then the funds get released.
so I had hoped to say it was out of EHP today, but it's not yet. It's still sitting there. And so I just wanted to bring Marisol in, introduce her to you all, and I want to thank her.
Absolutely. It's been great.
It was a journey, but we got the you know, the team to work with us together to get it where we want it to be. And it was a learning curve for Kevin. It's like follow my lead. I originally come from Washington, so my home base is Florida, but my duty station is Washington. And this project was originally assigned to someone else, and it wasn't moving. And finally, it was like, would you please handle it? And I went and I met with Kevin and we talked and tell me what it is that you're looking for and what you want. And he's like, well, I want a new bridge. And I'm like, okay, well, that's your wish list. Let's take us back, you know, tell me what it is that we need to do. So he goes, well, you know, I don't want to keep it this way. This is what eventually I want to do. So I was like, okay, we're going to take it step by step. And that's why the process took a little bit longer, because my plan is if we take a step by step, we get all the money that's required and then little money gets pulled out of the budget. So, and that was the game plan. And so that's how it panned out, because had we done it any other way, it would have been clicked at 500,000.
Which wouldn't have built
Nothing, and yet
Anything.
you would have not made it, because 75% of the 500,000 is 300 and change.
Right.
So there was no way you was gonna get what you wanted from that. And so I was like, let's take baby steps. And that's how we managed to do this project, and it got to where it was. So the mitigation funds ended up being a match. And so 100% instead of 15%, instead of being 100%. So that's why it shot it up over the $1 million threshold.
Mm.
So, yeah.
And hopefully we'll get something that doesn't fail after 10 years again.
You have the option to change that scope of work. So FEMA already knows what your intentions are. I just didn't want them to document it.
Mhm.
You see, I wanted them to document, to putting it back to its pre-disaster with mitigation funds so it can bring up the dollar amount. When you choose to change it, you can ask the state to change that scope of work to put what you want, what the engineers already have in place. You see, and the funds are there. Because it gets capped. Now you're looking at an improve, because if you change what you have, it's considered an improved project. You're changing the footprints.
Mhm.
So now you're improving it. So it's considered an improved project, and it gets capped at that dollar amount. That's how come I was trying to get it over the $1 million threshold. So when you do decide you wanted it to change it, you have over $1 million to play with.
And what's the process for changing the scope of the plan?
Once the project gets obligated and you have an idea of what you want to do, you reach out to the state, MEMA, Maine Emergency Management Agency, and you let them know, says, I don't want to do the scope of work. I want to change the scope of work, which the engineers already have that scope change.
They're already done with the design.
Mhm.
We already have the Army Corps approval.
And-
I rushed so fast to try to get it all done because I thought the timeline was
The
this-
18 months.
18-month window.
Yeah.
Well, we can request an extension, especially
Right.
now that it's a large project.
Mhm.
So, but it'd be nice to have that lined up now. Or LP approval
Yeah.
soon, so that we can go make our statement about wanting to switch our scope. And then being able to put it out to bid.
Does the changing the scope, does that require a process that has any length to it?
No,
No, that's directly with the state.
yes, directly with the state, because once the project is obligated, I'm out, FEMA's out. But since the project is not obligated, I'm still in.
Okay,
But once it gets obligated, it's called a transition meeting. I'll transition Newcastle back to MEMA. And then MEMA from there takes care of it. But once you decide what it is that you like to do, you just send them an email or a note and you said, I want to change the scope of work to this project number from this project number. And they'll turn around, they review it, they send it to the region, which is in Massachusetts, I think it is. They'll send it to the region, they review it, and a FEMA person will turn around and do what is called a scope change. And it becomes a version, which it means it caps it at the dollar amount that it was obligated for.
that shouldn't take that long.
That wouldn't take that long at all. That'll only take a week. It'll still have to go through its queues, its process, EHP. It'll still have to go through that, but after the work is done.
My soul thinks that she's gonna be done with us, but with all these storms that we're having, you're not gonna be done with us.
She and I just spent part of the day working on the January 10th and 13th storm and getting reimbursed for that. We had about $7,300 of expenses related to that storm that Marisol said.
9,000.
What's that?
9,000.
9,000, yeah, that's right, because we didn't have the
9,380.
new roof isn't on the salt.
Yeah.
9,380,
Yes.
all right.
See, she knows our business, that's good.
See, this is why I enjoy working.
So she's on your speed dial.
She is, oh yeah.
Yeah.
This is good.
Great.
That's fantastic. And hopefully the money from our May storm, so it's been a year now. Hopefully that.
MEMA, well, you guys were right when you said that you had a lot of storms. So MEMA was told to focus on, I shouldn't say MEMA was told, MEMA focused on 4696, which was a December storm of 2022.
Oh, geez, I forgot.
Yep.
about this. Okay.
And then a 4737. And then 4719, which was the May storm. So they're just now working on paying off the May storms. But MEMA, see, that's why when I do paperwork for towns, I like to do them totally where it's closeout ready, because MEMA, any state will work that way. If they're missing any documents, that's how they hold up your funds. So if MEMA's bank is not balancing, they don't pay out.
Oh, so
So
it's a Ponzi scheme.
that's how come every one of your projects from 4719, all the ones that is work completed, that's totally closed already. All the backup documentation is there to substantiate for her to be able, for MEMA to be able to release that money.
Okay.
With the exception of the Lynch Road, because that's work to be completed. And so, that money they won't release. And furthermore, with that one, because it's over $1 million, Washington or Congress may come back down and says, we want to see a schedule
Mhm.
on how you're gonna request for that drawdown. So, and we'll work on that.
Okay.
Perfect. We're relying on an act of Congress at this point.
Congress will have, well, once the project is obligated and LPN releases this, the money goes automatically into a smart link account, which just goes in straight to MEMA. MEMA is the one that won't release it. That's the one you need to be concerned about. But the Congress will release it.
It's a notification to Congress.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's a notification to Congress. But MEMA, that money gets released to MEMA. Congress and headquarters only just wants to see how you guys request for your schedule. That's all they're gonna want to see, how you're gonna request for the funds. And like I said, I'll work with you on that one to show you how to maneuver that and get funds.
Thank you.
Yeah, you-
Marisol,
we
are
want.
you regionally associated with FEMA? So like, or how are you?
I've been with
Working for
FEMA
Newcastle.
for 20 years.
But
Based out of Washington, DC.
My-
right, but is like Maine or Midcoast Maine
No.
region? It's just kind of like.
No, FEMA has 10 regions.
Yeah.
And I get moved around to all those 10 regions. So I get to travel all the 50 states, Haiti and Chile.
Wow.
Whoa.
Mhm.
Haiti and Chile.
Haiti and Chile, Haiti and Chile are part of Department of Homeland Security for assistance on major disasters.
Not going to Haiti anytime soon, so.
I did the hurricane that they had, not the hurricane, the earthquake that they had, some years back.
Now,
That was horrible.
yeah,
We'll never do that again, but so.
well, then welcome to me.
Yes, I prefer Maine. I turned down Hawaii and Guam to come to Maine.
Whoa.
Well, it's not a bad time of year to be in Maine.
Well, I've been here since November.
Oh, you have?
So that's a bad time.
Oh, that's
So you
back
burned,
then.
it was a bad time. I convinced her that it gets really nice in the spring
Yeah.
and summer.
I grew up in New York. It's just that, I kind of like left. So my blood like kind of warm.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you get to stay through the nice part.
I'll be here. I will be, actually, I will be here for a while. I'm gonna go home for Thanksgiving and spend December at home, and then I'll be back after the New Year's. Then my 50 weeks will start all over again. So that's the plan.
Well, and Rex did invite you to his birthday.
And
party.
yes,
Oh.
and I'll be going to Rex's birthday party.
Good.
Yes, that's in August, so I definitely plan to be here.
Good.
So
Thank you so much.
Thank
for all
you
of your
so
help.
much,
Yeah,
you're very
this is gonna
welcome.
be great to get a
It's done
good
right.
solution to this bridge.
Yep, and sometimes you need to be able, it's like I told Kevin, you have to be able to identify if you have a PDMG that comes on board with too many ifs and buts and, oh, well, let me find out. Especially when you have a major project, you guys have the authority to tell me, give me somebody else who's knowledge. You have that right. Because at the end of the day, you're trying to get what is benefit for the community. And if we come out here and we're not able to give you that, then we're not doing our due diligence.
Thank
That
you.
was my challenge with the prior PDMG. So I'm learning the process myself, and I didn't have a good mentor. But working with Marisol, I have learned quite a bit in a short amount of time. So thank you again.
You are very welcome.
Good. Well,
And thank
thank
you for
you.
letting me be here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it.
You can either stick around or take off.
I'm gonna take off because I
Alright.
have an early day tomorrow.
All right, you're right, 3 towns?
I have
Visiting
3 towns tomorrow,
Yeah.
3 towns. Thank you
Thank
all.
you, thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right, so we should hopefully anytime now be hearing.
I will keep you,
Yeah.
I will tell you guys immediately when I get that check in. but
Oh, for the past stuff, but also
Past
then the
stuff, but
approval for
Approvals
the,
come through for EHP, approvals come through for LP. Look at me using the acronyms.
you're talking on my head spinning. But that's awesome.
Environmental and historic preservation is where it's put up right now. Once that's approved, you'll go to the large project approval from headquarters. Once that approval is done, Congress will get a copy of this fact. There's a large project over $1 million that Newcastle is being awarded, and the obligation will happen. Not by Congress, by headquarters of FEMA.
Okay,
Once that obligation goes in, then I will reach out to the state to say, hey, we want to change the scope of our project from this mitigated project. We still want all that money. We just want to use it for something else. In a different way. Same place, just a different type of project.
so from good news on getting money for some projects to bad news on having to spend money on a bridge.
Yeah,
We'll move on to 6B, which is the VHB engineering proposal for Neck Bridge.
yeah. And so Neck Bridge is named by the state. And the state has a number for it. It is not a state bridge. Although all other bridges in the state belong to the state, except when there's a daily traffic count that's below 100. Then it's called a LURB. And another acronym, low use redundant bridge.
Okay.
So there's 2 metrics that determine whether or not a bridge is a LURB. Towns are responsible for LURBs. So therefore, we're responsible for this bridge because the traffic that goes over it is under 100 daily drives or daily commutes over it. Therefore, we are on the hook for this bridge. The state has come in and modified their formula for determining when bridges need to be posted. If you remember, we posted this bridge back in January as sort of a directive from the state saying we had to. We did it. And now one of the things we talked about was potentially having a firm do a weight load testing of the bridge to determine if 30 is overkill. So they gave me a proposal of 38.5. I provided an email from Carl Ayers from VHB that just talked a little bit about why it's so much more expensive. Because initially, when I thought about it, it was probably about 20, but they've doubled the number of weighted vehicles that have to be tested on these bridges. They don't actually physically bring in I asked Carl, so do you bring in each one of these pieces of equipment to load it onto the bridge to determine if it can make it or not, and whatever ones
No.
don't fall through?
There
Oh,
were 6.
nope, too bad.
Too heavy.
Too heavy.
No, that's not how they do it.
Uh-huh.
I honestly don't know how they do it, but it wasn't by loading up with the vehicles. I will say, and I know that Marisol would have said, working with VHB has been phenomenal. Like the fact that we got as much done in such a short amount of time once she came on board, and the fact that VHB listened so well, exactly what FEMA's asking for to make sure everything that we've done is got approved, just shows the quality of their services. I don't know if I can get it for less than 38 or maybe 35. But if we want to get it done soon, I know I've heard from some of the residents on there. One resident called about wanting to get some trees cut in her yard and no logger is going to come over that bridge. I've heard from another resident who is looking to build a house and is worried that he won't get any contractors with supplies to get over that bridge. So do we want to move forward with a study to figure out if this can be tested against the committee at DOT that reviews these types of town requests, or are we just going to leave it posted?
If you leave it posted, what's the timeline? So it gets repaired or fixed? Or
Yeah,
Replaced.
until you replace the bridge.
Yeah, well, then I think we're obligated to get a more precise number.
I wish VHB was like, oh, I'm 80% sure. They don't know, and they haven't studied the bridge yet.
I mean,
Well, then VHB was the team that did look at that bridge last year when there was some, there was some riprap that needed to be added to it. I know that I wasn't here for that, but that was, Seth had, brought forward that issue. There were some erosion issues. There's now riprap around one of the embankments. You look at the state report on that bridge, it talks about that, that one side does have some damage to it. And it's just now that they've modified their threshold at which things get posted, this one fell into that category. So. you know,
Unless we're willing to spend how many millions of dollars.
yeah. And I struggle with finding grant opportunities for that. I will struggle with finding grant opportunities.
It seems like this is about 1% of the cost of replacing the bridge, just, off the cuff. So
3 million.
Yeah.
3.8,
Eight, yeah.
You know,
$4 million bridge.
I mean, I expect it's not a minor span, like
No.
$1 million bridge that we're building on Lynch Road. It's going to be
It's way
at least
longer
double
than
that,
Oh,
right?
It's way longer.
It's way longer. So to spend 1% of replacement on a study to see whether or not we need to replace it, that seems like not the worst way to spend money.
And I mean, there isn't a possibility that it could be fixed too. You don't necessarily have to replace.
Replace, right.
Bridge, you can repair.
But I would imagine this study would let us know
That's what
what,
I'm saying.
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
elements of it would need to be replaced.
So it would help with the next step.
Yeah.
Next step.
Does anyone know how old that bridge is?
I can find out for you. Just give me a second.
Well, they did the major span 20 years ago, 25-ish years ago. And I think that one's older. Best guess 30 years old, but that is really a guess.
I don't really have a whole lot of.
Well, then the other
Options.
option is
Connecting.
connecting the road
Yeah.
through, which is
It's more
probably
than-
also about a $3 million.
That's more than $38,000. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to mention, I don't think it's desired.
I don't think anybody wants that road to go through. I don't know how many landowners there are out there, but I don't think there are a lot of landowners out there. So,
I don't think they'd be thrilled, but no, we've heard about that already.
Bridge was built in 1988.
so 40 years.
Everything's longer than we think it is.
35 years.
Yeah.
I was born in 81, I'm 42.
Ah,
I was like, I'm 40. No.
no, not anymore.
No.
You were.
It was.
So I wasn't that far. off.
No. I don't know, what's the life expectancy of a bridge like that? I wonder. I mean, it's rhetorical. I'm thinking here knows the answer to that,
When it
but
came in last year, they thought by following their kind of schedule that they laid out with maintenance, they thought it. Trying to think what they put on it. I
What do you
thought They
mean?
said,
Wait, or
no, just for
Life
life
expectancy.
expectancy.
that bridge.
I thought they said 40 to 50 more years.
I thought generally bridges are 75 years.
Yeah.
target.
So that would be good. if We could.
We
Spend,
gotta put some money into it.
Yeah.
put a little bit of money into it.
You know,
and
just
Keep
one
it.
question that just about the dumb acronym, the redundant bridge. Where's the other bridge?
Well, so no, it's about, so daily it's tied to traffic count.
Yeah.
So if there's another way to get around something, if the distance is twice as long as what that way would provide, there's a higher level of threshold for traffic. It's a very weird formula, but it's
Yeah,
about
fair
redundant opportunities to get to from point A to point B.
But there isn't
But there isn't.
currently.
There isn't, so it
Right.
was just tied to the low use.
Low
bridge.
use.
Right.
So right, if it's just to an island or a peninsula without another way to get off of the peninsula, as in the case this is, it is tied to the low use. And then the redundant bridge is another formula for other situations where, like, if I could get from here to, East Old County Road, and there was a bridge that was out that got you to West Old County Road. Now, if that bridge was there and it was owned by the town, but you can still get to West Old County Road by going up and around.
Mhm.
How far is that distance? And it's a ratio of the traffic between the two.
Right.
So that's where that comes from.
The other option is to get like a really good food truck and put it on the other side of the bridge and just get free food. Just fund the free food and then
Let's
you
get
get your
the traffic
traffic
up.
count up.
That's
to over
right.
100 a day. And
That's-
then you say, no, we don't have this bridge, and that might be cheaper than
Creative.
$3 million,
Yeah.
$3 million.
We might need to do
saying.
that for the Lynch Road Bridge.
And that would be pretty
We
cool,
might need to do that for that.
you know?
It's a great idea.
We're the town that tacos say.
Yeah, that's an option. I
Free
like your
ta-
thinking.
Free tacos for all.
I like your thinking.
So part of the price for this, is that gonna be them also, once they do their study, get their numbers and everything like that? Bringing that to the state
Yes,
and vouching
yes.
for it?
Or against it.
Yeah.
Vouching against the 30 tons.
Or saying,
Or saying, oh,
or saying you're right.
Yeah,
Tom, are the fire trucks impacted by the weight limit?
Yes,
yeah, some could be. If there was, I know there are some pretty large older houses out there that would use the larger equipment, especially trying to get water out there too, some of the tankers. Our tanker, I don't believe would be, but some of the neighboring towns that would be showing up would probably be at that very time.
Again, we could get a skidder and just drag trucks through the
Yeah.
other road too. So I'm just
Yeah.
looking for cheaper
They,
options.
they might not, they might.
Taco
not
truck or a
appreciate it.
skidder.
Just get some buffalo tanks on that skidder, you'll be fine.
Gosh.
So where would this 38 come out of budget?
so in your commentary, I touched on 3 account lines where we haven't spent any of the technical assistance, which is
Mhm.
technically what this is for.
Yep.
Mhm.
So I'd spend the 38 out of that line, so to overspend in that line. But you have 2 lines that don't have any expenditures, or one that doesn't have any expenditures in it yet. That's the bridge line for bridge repairs.
Which this
Which is
might
this is
be.
the first
The
step of
first
a
step
bridge
of a bridge
test.
repair.
Which I think we put the 20 in for the neck bridge, paint and stuff like that.
But hasn't been touched yet this year.
Yeah, this year,
Um,
yeah.
Yeah. And I did reach out to Seth to verify, like, you don't have something lined up next week to pay out of this, but then I also recognize that we are 22,000 remaining in our budget for salt for this year.
We
So
probably won't use any.
We
more
won't
of
be using any more, hope we're not using any more salt this year. So there's enough money within the category of public works to cover the cost of this without having to move money from one category to another. And I don't know how often or what your protocol has been in the past about, I know Joel, you mentioned something about, I want the board to be making the decisions about where we move money within the account line, within the category. But the way the our town reports are written, it's about movement of categories. So 2% of your budget, we'll call it $70,000, $65,000. You move from one category to another. You don't necessarily need to move from line item within a category into another line item of the category. So when an auditor looks at it, they're gonna look at the category. They're not gonna be too concerned about each individual line item.
Okay.
As long as the category can still stay in the blue, in the black. So I don't know if you need to take a motion to move the money. I just want you to recognize this is what I would propose we do is spend this out of that first line there on technical assistance, knowing that it can be recouped by not spending in additional salt or too much additional bridge work.
Probably the salt is part of the reason the bridge is failing the weight. Testing, so we need to cut back a little.
Stop using salt.
Yeah.
So and then the estimated date of completion is 12/31/24. Is that just sort of, is that what they're actually thinking, do you think? As their date of that?
I can ask them to try to move it up, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think this season is the time at which they'd be doing the work. I don't think they'll have it done in time before.
Seems there's a lot of computation that, like, they need to do the site inspection, but then there's a lot of number crunching that has to
30
happen.
different vehicles tested through the analysis, but yeah.
I think what I saw in there, it was weird, in their contract, it said there's no,
Oh,
site,
there is a site.
site
That's right,
visit.
right.
so how did they do this without ever going to the
They
site?
did do a site visit last year. as
So
part of
they'll
their
use that?
inventory. I'm sure they would just
There you
use that.
Okay. I just don't know how you assess a bridge without seeing it.
Well, they have the plans of it.
Mhm. Yeah, Mike, okay, make those, yeah, okay. Mhm.
But if there's a damaged section, you'd need to know that section was damaged.
Yeah.
A new
Oh, and
damaged section, I mean, that's my point.
There was a damaged section
Yeah.
that
so
they were
it's-
part of the repair, so.
But I'm just saying,
Yeah.
it would be good to, if we're
Put eyes on
putting our
it.
name, if we're putting or saying this is good, then we don't know what's happened between now and then and how many. Whatever, how many boats have hit it or how many.
Yeah.
Things have cracked or crumbled or.
And maybe that's, I don't, maybe that's not what they really mean. I can't imagine that they wouldn't wanna just glance at it, make sure it still looks like it's all in one piece. But,
It's these are the questions.
I don't think, does everybody agree we kind of have to do this?
I'll make a motion that we authorize the town manager to sign contract with VHB.
Okay, to perform the load rating on Nick Bridge, yep, good.
Correct.
Motioned by Tor, seconded by Rufus. Any other questions on it? Anybody have any questions? All right, then all in favor? Passes 5-0. All right. More bridges in town. I mean, we need 2 taco trucks, a taco truck and a falafel truck.
You never have enough taco trucks.
That's what I'm saying.
We'll put them in strategic locations.
Ice cream. The giant ice cream.
Yeah. All right, so 6C legislative, excuse me, policy committee nomination. Or wants to get in there in the legislative stuff?
Yeah, I filled out the form. And I wanna make sure we correct the typo before it gets sent to MMA.
There was one.
Yeah, not at all.
And it was my typo. Primary issues of concern, that second question, second sentence, I am interested. Oh. Should be
Okay,
a word in there.
easy to fix.
Anyway, I thought, yeah, I mean,
Great.
I wanna see what's going on and see what the connection is between, you know, legislation in the state and in the town and see if we can flex some muscle.
Great. I'm glad you're willing to do that.
I'll make a motion to nominate Tor for the LPC nomination.
Let's see, representing communities in Senate District 13.
Senate District
Yep.
13.
Excellent. All right. Motioned by Joel, seconded. Well, you made the motion, I'll second it. Is that seconded by me? All in favor? Passes.
So I vote?
Yeah,
You can vote
Yeah,
5-0.
yeah.
for yourself.
You gotta sign this too, consenting that you wanna do this.
Thank you, Tor.
Unless you go.
That'll be great to have
You're the nominator.
some
You
ears,
sign that one.
and some voice in the committee.
You consent. Then I got that done. Thank you.
Right, Kevin, do you have any report?
Well, I spent most of my day with Marisol, so I did not get a official report out to you ahead of time, but last week we met, the Village Partnership Initiative met. It was not a huge turnout. But a lot of good information, a lot of good interest. We're working on sort of redeveloping a website specifically with all the information that comes out of those meetings, because it was very informational, and helpful to start to frame the conversation. One of the big takeaways from that meeting was Tom Merico, who's with TY Lin, is a traffic engineer who does projects like this all over the state. He's very intrigued by our specific intersection. Had a couple of different design ideas, but of course he's holding back until he collects the traffic data, which is scheduled to be done sometime in July, and into probably early September, but mixing the different days of the week. The only thing we're missing is probably just Thornton Academy students.
Yep.
Because it collects bicycles, pedestrians and vehicles.
Lincoln.
Lincoln.
Lincoln,
was
what did
gonna
I
say.
say?
Thornton.
Oh my God.
It's okay.
That's,
It's okay.
I mean, you get it on the right day and you might have some.
right here for
Yeah,
a soccer game or something. Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Sorry, Lincoln Academy. Sorry, Jeff.
But it was funny. Tom said he was sitting over here and he said, sat and watched that intersection and went, that's
So which one, to be specific?
the Academy Hill Mills
Yeah,
Road,
yeah.
Main Street one.
Yeah.
He said, I just scratched my head.
Yeah.
That's a mess.
Yeah, that's,
He called it
Misfunction junction.
mis-
yeah, misfunction
Misfunction
junction.
junction. Yep.
Yeah.
Um,
I patiently sat behind somebody from Georgia over the weekend that was stopped. You know, I didn't honk my horn. I wanted to see how long the confusion sort of insisted, but it was at least 15 seconds before they're like, oh, I actually have right away. Yeah.
They were going like on towards.
Yeah, they were
Route
going
one.
south and they just
Yeah.
stopped where everybody else
Yep.
stops.
I saw that too this
Yeah.
weekend.
Like, let's see, let this play out and make it look really awkward.
Well, there are no lines painted right now and the
Can't
stop
fix it
sign's
first.
there and they probably saw that stop sign and was like,
Yeah, I
what does
know.
that
That's
apply to?
Exactly what I know.
Yeah. Yep. So that was a good meeting.
Well, there's a couple other things I want to touch on. Community Resilience Partnership. There is a community meeting on Saturday, June 1st. It's at 2:30 and it's at Lincoln Academy in their tech room, E-Tech.
Exactly.
E-Tech room. I still haven't been in there yet either, Jeff. Waiting for that tour of the campus, but you know, until then, I'll continue to call it Thornton. The other thing I want to touch on, June 10th is the elections.
Mhm.
We were talking about using the fire station for the event. However, staff realized they don't need to do 2 lines, so we can use this room. Unfortunately, we would like to set up on, or sorry, that's June 11th is the elections.
Mhm.
We want to set up on June 10th,
Which is our meeting.
which is our meeting night. So I'm curious if you want to either meet somewhere else that night, or maybe we could meet Wednesday after the elections. Just looking for some ideas.
I mean, are
Place
they,
to head lounge.
throwing
out ideas, just throwing out ideas.
great idea, Shuck Station. No, I mean, are they actually gonna be working in here at 7 o'clock at night?
No, but the room would be set up, so we'd have to move everything out of the way
Yeah.
and then set it back up, because I'm not inclined to have them have to do that at
No.
7:30 in the morning.
I mean, we could just,
Well,
Tour's house, you know.
yeah.
I was gonna say the little meeting room in
I'll
the.
clear out the garage.
In the
you know.
town office, but there's no place for other people.
Clubhouse.
Harry, we're a clubhouse.
We could meet out in Sheepscot.
We could do that.
You wanna do that?
Wow, that's exciting.
Let's do that.
I've never been in that building.
I haven't been there in like 30 years.
It hasn't changed, I don't
I'm
think,
sure it hasn't.
at all.
Probably.
Let me verify that it's not in
It's
use.
Available.
I'll
That
verify
would
that
be
it's not in
fun.
use. It would be. Hey, look at that.
No, that's even closer for you.
I was more concerned about.
Oh, Jeff.
Oh,
So does that mean it
Jeff,
costs?
Jeff can come too if he wants.
Yeah.
but he doesn't have the equipment to set up there.
Well, you can just come.
You can just come in.
Would you leave my house more than 5 minutes?
Yes,
Oh,
you would.
Yeah, but wouldn't that be a case wherever we meet, wherever we would meet, we would still be void of
Yeah.
cameras and.
Yeah.
Unless we met at the cable station.
Meet at LCTV.
You can also just use Jammer Scott as the council chamber.
Not doing that. Not on my last meeting.
But you're okay with the Harry Bird?
On my-
I'll make sure Emma's there to take the proper minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. You're all open to it. We'll do 7 o'clock there.
That'd be fun. We can see it and see what needs to happen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can, yeah.
Do an inspection.
Make sure it's cleaned after the event on the 9th.
So let's change locations for the next meeting, so we forget. Anything else that you had, Kevin?
Probably, but I think that's what I'll leave you with for tonight.
My phone doesn't know where the Harrietburg Clubhouse is.
We could
We'll have
also,
to- we'll have to talk to Google.
we could do it at
I
Riverside
can draw you a
Booger.
map where to
We
go.
could do it at Riverside Booger and you guys could help me put coats of paint on while we did our meeting. That's the other possibility. It's just down the road.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Great.
Bottom paint's fun to put on.
It's harder when it's in the water, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Bottom paint is for sure.
Easier to keep a wet edge though.
It is easier to keep a wet
Worry
edge.
about Getting rough strokes.
And to remind you, you have 2 more meetings. Town meeting.
Yeah, town meeting, but this is my last regular,
Yeah.
not meeting with Darren.
Yeah.
Just
So
put that on the record.
speaking of town meetings, we don't want to decide the night, well, I guess we could decide on the 10th. Who's gonna do what section of the
We're gonna do that?
budget
You talked
presentation?
to Kevin about that?
No, we're just gonna drop it
Pull
on.
our.
It's worked really well the last couple of
Yeah,
years.
no, I don't disagree.
But we all take a section of the budget and
I knew
explain
that.
it, okay.
I've heard, I mean, I don't mind doing the heavy lift there, but if it's a tradition and interest to you all, sure,
You could be backup
yeah.
for all the stuff that we don't remember. But do you want to decide that now or wait until the week before the meeting? Week before is good, okay. All right. All right, then we can move on to the 22nd AP warrant for 198,885.07.
So moved.
Moved by Joel, seconded by Tor. Does anyone have any questions?
I just one
Yeah.
thing came to mind when I was looking at it, because we've got the tipping fees. There was some conversation around that is,
For next fiscal year,
yeah, has there been any?
no good options came of
Okay,
the inquiries that.
that's
were
fine,
done.
that's,
It's probably a 2 to 3 year longer conversation and probably something that needs to be on the discussion plate for June. The select board's second meeting in June
Okay.
about the list of things you want to get done.
yep,
This could
That's fine.
definitely be on there.
it just jogged my memory
Yeah.
that had come up and I
It did during
thought
the budget
that
process.
here's a
Yeah.
good reason.
Yeah, it had about an $18,000 increase on our tipping fees.
Right.
For fiscal year 25.
Yeah.
Question really is there a better option for us out there? And at quick glance, not really, but definitely more due diligence and understanding how increased by
it's-
18,000.
Yeah.
In 1 year.
Well, they need a new backhoe.
I've been down this road. A few years ago. There were a couple options that were possibilities then, but it was right at the time when recycling costs, like the return on it
Reimbursement.
went to nothing, so then it drove costs up.
Yeah.
Anyone have any other questions on the warrant? Nope, then all in favor of approving it? Passes 5-0. Is that it?
That's
Wow, okay. Then do I have a motion to adjourn at 8:06?
So
Second.
First, second, and all in favor? All right, until the next meeting at the Harrietburg Clubhouse.
Yeah.
We're having a
Feels like.